Hi.
Hello.
Hey, Panda. Panda's been working very hard on writing stuff, which is why we haven't done these in a while.
Kinda. I mean, I'm reaching an end point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. I don't know what to say about it except I'm trying to figure out whether or not I should continue writing. I spent like the weekend trying not to write and just, deciding to take a step back, and I feel worse than ever. So I'm planning to have a good talk with my therapist about what makes my life worth keeping.
Yeah. But we figured, in the meantime, might as well do a live read.
Yeah, might as well finish this thing.
Yeah. So, plan is we're still gonna finish this arc, and then we have something we're gonna change format once again once we reach the end of this arc. But in the meantime, do you remember what happened?
Hasn't it been like 2 months?
It's been like 2 months since we last read this.
Then no. I have the attention span of a goldfish.
All right.
It should be amazing that like I can actually perform my day job given how shitty my memory can be.
Well, just to catch you up, the last thing that happened was Bonesaw unleashed a agnosia fog on the city.
Right.
Right? So nobody can recognize
Isn't
each
Taylor
other.
didn't like the chapter cut out like with like Taylor like about to fight Jack?
It cuts out with her recognizing that these two people are actually Jack and Bonesaw.
Right.
And she was getting ready to fight them, but they escaped instead.
Oh, they escaped, right.
Yeah, they escaped, and they're planning to find Panacea.
Uh-huh.
To
get her to heal them?
Not to heal them. Panacea is the only person who can probably deal with Bonesaw's fog.
Uh-huh.
So they're gonna try to deal with her instead.
They being the Undersiders?
Jack and Bonesaw.
What do you mean? So they're gonna kill her so she can't
she can't fix the fog.
She can't fix the fog. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least that's the plan, I think. So Taylor is gonna try to stop them.
Okay.
Okay? Alright. Let's do this. Swap over. Pray. 14.10. Arcadia High was the school every kid in Brockton Bay wanted to attend. A big part of that was the fact that everyone knew that the wards attended Arcadia, and attending meant that any one of your classmates could be a superhero or heroine.
Damn. That's
It's
kind of fucked.
I mean, it's a prestige thing, right?
What? So what does that do? That puts you closer to like one of the heroes, but that doesn't mean you could become a hero. This isn't MHA.
To anyone else, you could just as easily be one too.
These kids are fucking delusional, man. Like, listen, I don't know about these kids, but I don't want to go to a high school where, I don't know I wasn't a troublemaker in high school, not that much. I only got sent to detention twice for stupid things, which is like having my cell phone on me in class, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, what if I accidentally cut off the wrong person in the lunch line? What if I step on the wrong person's foot? Are they gonna beat me up?
I hope not.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I see this and I'm just like, whoa, this is a detriment. This is a detriment. Also, we know, they don't know this, but we know one of those heroes is Shadow Stalker, who is a grade A asshole.
Fair enough. But to be fair, Shadow Stalker does not attend Arcadia High.
Oh, she doesn't?
No, she attends Taylor School, which is
not Arcadia High.
Not Arcadia High. It's I think Brockton Bay High.
Okay, but still, I'm just like, I don't want to go to school with a bunch of supers. Like, what if I accidentally like have some kind of a misdemeanor? Like I said, what if I accidentally rear end someone in the parking lot? What if something stupid happens? What if I was an extremely unpopular person throughout most of my life, actually. I'm surprised I even have friends. Do I want to piss off one of these super-powered folks?
Yeah, that doesn't sound pleasant.
Yeah, no.
If
I know I know I'm sounding a little bit like a villain here, but I'm just like, no way, man. I do not want to get involved in that shit. And let's say you become friends with one of these people, and then it goes wrong. Any of you seen Crazy Ex-Girlfriend? I haven't, but I've seen the trailer, and I just kind of imagine things being a little like that. There's too many drawbacks. I don't want no like super friends. I want to just like stick with my own, keep my head down, and live like a ho hum, like Stardew Valley life, you know? Celebrities. Like, oh, you could go to school celebrities, and oh my god, the whole culture will revolve around them. This changes the entire dynamic of the school to something highly unpleasant.
Yeah.
Why would you want this? These kids are idiots.
Josh says, hello, by the way.
Oh, hello.
All right. It wasn't a rich kid school like Immaculata, but it was a good school.
Immaculata. Oh, what a name. I know, Catholic schools, blah, blah.
Every classmate treated other classmates with the utmost respect.
That's what you think.
Both the students and the school
This means
itself.
they're passive-aggressive.
Both the students and the school itself maintained a certain status and pride as a consequence.
I went to a school that maintained a certain status and a pride, and there was another school in the area that maintained a certain status and pride. Do you know how it was? At my school, if you got anything less than a 5 on the AP Calculus exam, you were ashamed of it and would not tell anybody your score. 5 out of 5 is, by the way, for most of the national standard, ridiculous. That's a perfect score, basically.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's my school. The other one that you had to test into, that's, the one Cunnelbot goes to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just using pseudonyms here. Like the school that Bot went to, I knew other people went to that school. It was 50% normies / like ne'er-do-wells and 50% like high stress, high anxiety kids. You had to test into this school. So either you like fizzled out early or you remained under an extraordinarily mind-crushingly high level of stress for the rest of your academic career. And then some people burnt out even after that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I went to school in one of these areas. I was known as the kid who got like the perfect SAT score. And how am I doing mental health wise? Well, you should ask my therapist. Except you can't, HIPAA laws. But if you could, he would tell you that I'm in serious trouble. So no, you don't want to go to one of these schools, do you? Bunch of idiots. These damn kids, their TikToks melting their damn brains.
I mean, there was no TikTok back in 2012.
No, it wasn't in 2012, but we have literal superhero, so like making literal mech suits, so I don't know, anything might be possible, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know, whatever these kids have. Not that I would expect like Wildbow to know about TikTok exactly back in 2012, because I found out about it in a way that I didn't want to, or it was just like, hey, there's all of these vines dead, and then this thing showed up and the kids are acting like it's this new thing, and I'm like, it's just fine.
Uh-huh.
But go on.
Now it was something else, and it inspired entirely different feeling.
Fear!
The front gate looked like it had aged 1,000 years. The sharp corners of the cut stone had rounded off. The ivy that once wound around it had withered.
They had ivy? Oh, Ivy League reference?
Yeah,
wink nudge?
right?
Oh, damn. They are... See, I told you don't want to go to one of these schools. They go hard. They care about their image. You think everything's squeaky clean. You think everything's perfect. Nah, man. These places are cesspools.
Well, Taylor doesn't go here, so she can't really comment on it.
No, she can't really comment, and, Taylor's also a traumatized individual, so I don't know if I would expect her to understand just how much of a cesspool this kind of place could be, but, you know. I just want to bag on this thing, okay? Because she's like, oh, Arcadia High, look at this sparkling paradise, and I'm like, I'm telling you, it's a shithole!
Right. The windows of the building were all shattered, empty of glass, and the fields were a patchwork of overgrown grass and mud. With the faint tendrils of colored mist that surrounded the grounds, it looked like a prime location for a horror movie.
Ah, in your element, hey, Bobo?
I had little doubt I was in the right place. Panacea is the healer, top floor. Jack is the slasher, the blonde girl, the chemist tinker. Panacea is the healer on the top floor. Jack is the slasher, the blonde girl is the chemist.
Jack is the slasher.
I recited
Is he a hash-slinging slasher?
Hash-slinging slasher. I recited the words as a refrain, as if I could hold the names and identities of the major players in my short-term memory.
Oh, you should do the Doctor Who thing and write on your hand. You're bloodied up. You have mud on you, right? Like, yeah, you just,
Ooh, that would be clever.
because there's an episode called not an episode, there's like the creatures called The Silence, and the whole point is like they have a sort of agnosia about them.
Mm-hmm.
You will never remember that you see them. They're there, And then as soon as you look, like they're there, when you see them, you're just like, oh, you're filled with this like sort of cosmic horror. And you know that they're there. But then if you look away, the instant your eyes look away, you forget that they were there. So what the characters started doing, and that was a really great horror episode actually, they started writing tallies on their faces or on their bodies so that they would know, even if they could not remember, that they had encountered the silence a certain number of times. There's this really great shot of like Karen Gillan, who plays one of the assistants, where she's looking in a bathroom mirror. The lightning flash, her face is totally clean. You just see her scared, like pale face in the mirror, and then the lightning flashes. You see the silence behind her for like a split second, I think, and then after the lightning flash is gone, like it's black and white strobe light effect, and you see her face again in the mirror, and her whole face is covered in these tally marks.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so that was, I think, one of the most, that's a brilliant horror thing. So I'm just saying, Taylor, you got to do what they did in she probably doesn't watch Doctor Who.
Do they even have Doctor Who in her universe?
They have mech suits. What? I don't know. Look, I don't know. Look, just, you came here for Panda Reaccs. You prompted this. You're married to me. You're stuck with this. So I'm just saying, they should do, like, if I had like an agnosia problem, I would actually just do what they did in Doctor Who and like write shit on my hand. Like I'm assuming Taylor doesn't have her cell phone with her, right? So just write shit on your hand. Like I do that sometimes. Like I stopped doing that at work because, well, I'm wearing gloves. What's that gonna do? I toss the glove and that information's gone.
Also, you don't want to be sticking those gloves into someone's.
With the pen marks on it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But I'm just saying for information retention purposes, like it,
Yeah.
I always feel bad, like, where I'm, like, taking notes, like, on the side, like, I started, when people, like, look at me, and I'm just like, oh, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna write down some information, why don't you, let me talk to you, but, yeah, like, you should do the silence thing, write things down and go. You can use your hand as a quick reference, but I guess if you were to look down at the wrong time, Jack could slash your hand off.
Right. The school was on a hill.
Oh, but then you write but you write stuff on your hand, but it's okay if he slashes it off. You just pick that hand back up and it becomes like, a memo, like you wrote it on a Palm Pilot. Oh. That's a really old joke. I don't even know what a Palm Pilot is.
I was about to say it was a handy dandy notebook.
Yeah! Hey, this is why we're married!
The
oh my god, I love you.
was on a hill, meaning the water that was producing the miasma was far enough away that only traces of it reached this far. The little vapor that got to the school was held at bay by the stone wall that ringed the school. The design suggested it had been intended more for aesthetics than for utility, but it was serving a purpose nonetheless. Hennessy is the healer, top floor. Jack is the slasher, blonde girl the chemist tinker.
She sounds like me before my examinations. Because I'm just, like, I'm doing this too. I'm, like, muttering like Deku and consulting my notes before they tell us, put everything away or we expel you.
It seemed like the mechanical spiders had lost track of me. They would probably give up the chase and return to their master, but it was one less thing to worry about for the time being. Jack and the tinker would have gone in through the ground floor. I decided to land on the roof.
I'm very curious what Wildbow thinks about just insects and bugs and things in general, because I'm like, we have Taylor, who's like a bad guy, but, bugs are creepy, and we have the mechanical spiders used by a bad guy, which are creepy, like, and yet there's, like, a whole lot of, like, bugs and, like, I'm actually super curious now. It's like, does he like bugs? Does he not like bugs? Like, it's bugging me. But, I'm sorry.
The second I was on terra firma, I reached for my phone to check. No signal. I needed to signal someone about what was going on. I was woefully under-equipped, and I doubted my ability to win this alone, especially when my opponents weren't as disadvantaged as I was. I could use something like a giant 9 crafted out of bugs floating over the school to signal that the pair was here, but there was no guarantee that someone would come. There was also the possibility that it would lead to the good guys dropping another bomb on us. That would get the healer and maybe even me killed. Panacea had to survive, or everyone in the city would die in the aftermath of Bonesaw's miasma. Panacea is the healer. Yeah. She's on the top floor. Jack is the slasher. The blonde girl is the chemist tinker.
Oh, you know what would really help with what you're doing here, Taylor? Turn it into a song. That's how you remember things. That's one of my, that was one of the study strategies they told us to use in high school. I didn't do it, of course, because it sounded fucking lame. But, the way that you're doing it, you could be like, the the jack man's connected to the slasher, you know, like that kind of thing, like the knee bone. Yeah, just like what do you say? Like, let's see, bones. Tennessee is the healer. Like, just maybe she can't remember songs either.
I think it's just faces with names and identities.
Come on, girl. The knee bone connects to the shin bone.
The bone's all connected to the
end of the world.
end of the world. Slash.
Day. Oh right. I forgot about that. I was just being dramatic.
I tenderly touched.
I'm back, y'all.
I tenderly touched the cut on my face. Jack must have pulled back as I used the tinker as a shield, because the cut was fairly shallow. It was long, though, and my fingertips were wet with blood after I touched my hand to it. I couldn't distinguish the blood from the black fabric of my gloves, so I couldn't tell how much it actually was. I wasn't sure I wanted to know.
I mean, can you feel it?
Huh? I think she feels it, but it's shallow.
Okay, so if it feels shallow, then it might probably is shallow. So you good girl, keep chugging.
There was a door on the rooftop, and I used my knife to pry the doorknob partially off, then gave it a firm kick to remove it. The lock was built into the handle, and it didn't take long to figure out how to open it when I could see the internal mechanism. It wasn't exactly high security, more intended to keep kids from getting onto the roof than keeping people on the roof from getting in. Just past the door was a set of stairs that led down into the top floor of the building. It looked like a janitorial closet. I sent Atlas down to check before venturing down myself, and I began distributing my swarm through the school. I prepared silk lines across doorways and hallways to inform me of others passing through, placed ants, earwigs, centipedes, and pillbugs on the walls to give me a sense of the layout, and sent flies to scan the interiors of each room to see if I couldn't find anyone. Again, I repeated the refrain in my head, reminding myself about who was in the building. I wasn't sure it was helping, but I didn't want to get tricked again. There were 2 hallways and 3 classrooms my bugs couldn't enter without dying on the spot. That marked out a relatively small area that the 9 could be. The biggest issue was that I couldn't find Panacea. Did that mean she was in close confines with the enemy?
Or is she already dead?
It wasn't a good thought.
I'm kidding. I know she's not already dead because we have the other what was it? The Ward? Is that the... It's called Ward?
I mean, you don't know if Panacea's in Ward.
Let's pretend for a minute that I'm a parahuman, and in fact I do know because I have reality-breaking powers. Moving on. As I laid silk lines across possible entryways to alert myself about enemy movement, I was careful to check each area before I advanced further into the building. My eyes searched for details while my swarm scanned the walls and the ground. God, that's so spooky. Like, I know the villains, like, okay, so the villains are already spooky enough, but I'm just imagining, you know, Bug Girl coming after me in, like, an abandoned schoolyard, and I'm just like, nope!
No thank you.
Noping the fuck out of there.
I was a short distance away from the 9 when I saw a wet spot on the wall, complete with discoloration of the paint.
It's blood.
I sent bugs in, and they felt shards of glass on the floor around the patch. I wouldn't have said that the swarm smelled anything, but there was something heavy in the air, as flies beat their wings, the muscular action simultaneously drawing oxygen in. Whatever it was dense, cloying, odorless and colorless, only extending a dozen feet around the spot. I backtracked and picked a different route. My pace slowed to half of what it had been as I searched for other telltale details. Twice I found similar traps, both with that odorless smoke, and twice I had to change my route. I paused outside the bug-killing zone. Flies had ferried spiders to me, and I started organizing them to produce lengths of silk cord. I left them behind, while I creeped closer and listened in. Minds do think alike. I did something very similar for Siberian. A girl's voice. Shut up. We're nothing alike.
Ooh, wait, she did something similar for Siberian. So she's talking about the Victoria thing?
The Victoria thing? Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Because Siberian's whole deal, that's one stuck out to me because it struck me as being really fucking weird. Like the whole thing with Siberian being like, oh, she feels like a mother to the little girl, and that's what drives her. But this feels really weird all of a sudden now that we know that Siberian's actually just a projection.
Yeah, She's actually just a middle-aged dude.
Otaku. I'm gonna say otaku because listen, man, I calls it as I sees it. Yeah, right? Like, so, oh, weird.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, I don't know. Like, I guess, I'm not sure which one is weirder because our society is kind of terrible like this, where, you know, if you have, like, if a little girl gets lost in, like, the subway, it makes more sense for me to return that child if I'm with Roman. If I'm by myself or with Roman, then yeah, it makes sense for me to return that child. But if it's or Namor, if it's just him though, then that comes across as creepy. So I'm thinking about like whoever the dude, like the dude, Mr. Siberian, let's call him. Like, I'm thinking about, like, yeah, okay, so I guess maybe Mr. Siberian feels a certain way towards children, like fatherly or paternalistic, but then I guess it comes across as creepy because he's this weird old middle-aged dude. But I'm like, okay, so I guess that's creepy, but is really sending in this naked zebra-haired woman, zebra-bodied woman to take care of her, like, less creepy? And also, listen, this is Bonesaw. She don't need no parent. Yeah.
Shut up. We're nothing alike. Another girl. We could be. Haven't you ever wanted to start over? I could make you younger. We'd be the same age and wear matching outfits. Oh,
what the fuck?
I could do plastic surgery. We could be twins.
Twins? Hashtag twinsies. Bonesaw, this whole time you just wanted a friend for a fucking sleepover? That's the worst motivation in the world. Are you fucking kidding me?
Did you do that to yourself? Make yourself young? No. A male voice. Rest assured.
Oh, if she did, that would make me feel far better about the fact that we're about to myrtle her ass.
Rest assured, Bonesaw's immaturity is genuine. Both an asset in how it makes her that much more creative. Free in her ways. A detriment in other ways.
Whose personal belief is this? Wildbow, is this what you think? That keeping a little bit of inner child makes you more creative? Do you like eat Cheerios in the morning? I'm not coming for you. This is not an attack, but I'm actually just kind of like, is this part of your creative process? I would love to know if it is. Do you like Fruity Pebbles, sir? I mean, I like them on like mochi donuts and stuff, but you know, I'm just kind of like, wait, what?
Somehow I don't think Jack is Wildbow's mouthpiece.
No, I guess not, but I'm sorry. I'm trying to picture, I don't know what Wildbow looks like, so I'm picturing him as a Korok. Like, I'm just picturing a Korok, like this big old Korok leaned over his cereal in the morning being like, munch, gotta be creative. Like, does Jack Slash eat? He eats Fruit Loops. He is a Fruit Loop. He has to be eating Fruit Loops in the morning with Bonesaw. That's just the only thing that makes sense. Does he strike you as a grape nuts kind of dude? No. Nuh-uh. Fruit Loops. He's as fruity and loopy as they come. Oh my god.
Doesn't that bother you? Him saying that about you? Jack knows what he's doing. I do. I know a lot of things. Jack spoke. His voice smooth.
Oh, that's right. I forgot how punchable this voice was.
His voice smooth, almost seductive.
Come here. Bring your face over here. Bring that pretty face over here so I can smack it a couple times.
Ow.
Hey, I announced my intention.
I could picture him holding that knife of his, the threat all too clear. Oh, hold on. I skipped something.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, he's got a knife now. People can see it.
I know a lot of things. Don't. I know you've got a silver tongue. I don't want to hear it. You prefer the alternative? Jack asked, his voice cool. I could picture him holding that knife of his, the threat all too clear. There was a long pause. He spoke. I suppose not. So let's dialogue.
Let's dialogue?
Yep, let's dialogue.
Laters, baby.
Laters, baby.
Let's dialogue.
Go ahead. Panacea's voice was small, almost defeated. What's holding you back? You're capable of so much, of changing the world, of destroying it. But you're so very small, Amelia Claire Lavere.
Amira what?
Amelia Claire Lavere.
That just rolls off the tongue. Also, wow, there are a lot of Frenchies here. Wildbow, your Canadian is showing.
His voice was almost mocking as he said
Amelia
her name.
Leclerc Lebert.
Amelia Claire Lavere. That's not my name. It's the name you were born with. Imagine my surprise when I found out your relation to Marquis. In my last visit to Brockton Bay, I crossed paths with each of the major players. I met the man. I must tell you, Amelia, he was a very interesting character.
Coming from you, that means a lot.
I don't really want to know. I'm going to tell you. And I have another motive, but I'll get to that in a moment. Marquis was a man of honor. He decided on the rules he would play by, and he stuck to them.
Oh, didn't we see Marcus in jail?
We did.
I forgot what his whole shtick was. Is he really a man of honor?
He has rules that he sticks with. We didn't see him very much.
Oh, okay, I see the resemblance. He's got rules. He got rules to stick with. Kill a Kill reference.
He put his life and limb at risk to try to keep me from killing women and children, and I decided to see if I could use that to break him.
Jesus Christ!
I admit, I failed. He killed Allfather's daughter. No, Amelia, he didn't. There was a pause. Did you kill her? No. What I'm saying is that Marquis would not have killed the girl, even under duress. That was one of the rules he set for himself. If he was going to violate that rule, he would have done it when I tried to break him. Allfather put a contract on my head before he died, because of what Marquis did. Because it's how I found out he was my dad. A letter from Dragon to Carol. Carol. Ah, yes, Brandish. Well, I suspect either Dragon was manipulating you, or your father was manipulating Dragon in an effort to get a message to you. A message. That he's there, that he exists. Perhaps he sought to ensure he wasn't forgotten by his child. He was an old-fashioned individual, so it makes sense that he'd seek immortality through his progeny. Bonesaw piped up. That's stupid. Why do something like that when someone like me can make you immortal for real?
I was waiting for that. I'm just kind of like, Bonesaw's just sitting here going like, oh, pick me, I'll do it for free.
Shush, now. Finish sewing yourself up while Amelia and I talk. Okay, Bonesaw said. Her voice overlapped with Panacea saying, Stop saying that. It's not my name. Isn't it? There was another silence. You're your father's daughter. Both of you are bound up in rules you've imposed on yourselves.
Ooh.
His rules defined his demeanor, the boundaries he worked within, the goals he sought to achieve, and how he achieved them. They were his armor as much as his power was. I would guess your rules are your weakness. Rather than focus you, they leave you in free fall, nothing to grasp onto except your sister there.
I'm not sure what to make of all this exposition. This is another exposition dump.
What do you think of his analysis of Panacea, at least?
I mean, it's accurate. I just think it's kind of funny that we're doing it. Jack is like the perfect exposition dump character, you know? He's about as when I write Dazai, it's just like, oh, here, no, we're gonna tell you how we fixed everything. I wrote a 3-page exposition dump, and I think it was pretty decent, actually, but you know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Nothing to grasp onto except your sister there, and we both know how that has turned out. Sister. I made a mental note of that. There were 4 people in that room. How do you know this? I
bugged your phone.
Our emotion reader picked up on some. I figured out the rest. As you might expect, I'm rather familiar with damaged individuals. Bonesaw giggled. I didn't like the way this was going. I looked down the hall to see the doors. Each door had once had a window on the upper half, but there were only slivers left, the rest scattered over the floor. In an ideal world, some distraction would present itself, or the conversation would become a heated argument and they would distract each other.
Aren't you the distraction, honey?
I could rise from my crouching position, step forward, aim my gun and fire. Unload the gun's clip on Jack and Bonesaw. Or
I don't know if that's gonna work on Bonesaw.
Or I'd miss, resulting in the messy deaths of Panacea, her sister, and I. I really needed that distraction if I was going to do this. I'm not...
Can you make, bug distractions?
Yeah, she probably could. I'm not that type of damaged. I'm not a monster, Panacea protested. As an afterthought, she added, No offense. I've been called worse. I almost relish being called a monster. As though I've transcended humanity and become something from myth.
I don't know how to describe this face, and he's just like, oh my god, this fucking narcissist. Bring your pretty face over to my fist.
He's so extra.
Right? It's just wow. I mean, although I kind of get it, you know, it was I think there was a Nicki Minaj song called Monster where, you know, it's kind of a compliment. Honestly, in anime it tends to be a compliment. So I get it, and I'm just like, I don't know if monster is the right word. Oh yeah, that's right. I was gonna ask, like, so have you been called a pucker juicy asshole yet? You certainly killed like enough of those people who like saying that. Did anybody with their dying breath just whisper, "You fucking pucker juicy asshole"? Like,
I think he was a little too far to hear any of that. So maybe.
Yeah, I guess I'm just thinking. Although I guess now that I think about it, that'd be the worst set. I would not like that to be my last set of words. Like, oof. Oh, tell my mother I called her a puckered juicy asshole. Like, it just. Eh.
Josh says, Wildbow posted a picture of himself, and he looks like some guy.
Some guy.
Some guy. Makes sense.
Well, I mean, I kind of figured he looked like some guy.
As though I've transcended humanity and become something from myth. Myth.
Get a load of this guy, man.
And, according to Cherish, it may well be a destruction myth. What? She recently informed me that the world is going to end because of me. Not quite sure how or when. It could well be that I'm the butterfly that flaps his wings and stirs a hurricane into being through a chain of cause and effect. I don't want the world to end, Bonesaw said. It's fun. It is. But I expect it won't end altogether. There's always going to be survivors. True.
That sounds like you, Namor. You say this kind of thing where, like, whenever I'm just kind of like, yeah, we got about 5. Like, I'm of the very firm belief that we as a species are not going to last very long because we won't be able to get our shit together for global warming in time. And then Namor's always just kind of like, no, there's always going to be some survivors. Is this where you got it from?
Actually, maybe. I don't know.
Because this is a very punchable sentence.
I mean, sure, but, like, I think Worm as a whole is kind of a story about surviving.
Oh, I guess.
So, like, possibly that the themes of it and, like, the mentality of it has seeped into my consciousness.
I guess. Look, I'm very much of the no way, let's just give up and die camp.
Yeah, that sucks. And it makes for an interesting picture. After everything's gone, there will be a new beginning. New world
order?
Who better to craft the remains into a new world than you and Mannequin? And Amelia? And Amelia, if she so chooses.
Jesus Christ, can you imagine what this looks like? Probably like Little Big World, but horrible. You know what I'm referencing, right? That game?
Yeah. We could be like gods in a new world.
Oh my god, the narcissism dripping off this guy.
You're crazy, Panacea muttered. According to studies, clinically depressed individuals have a more accurate grasp of reality than the average person.
Oh shit! I mean, that's true. Wait, Jack, are you clinically depressed?
We tell ourselves lies and layer falsehoods and self-assurances over one another in order to cope with a world colored by pain and suffering. We put blinders on.
We? Whoa, 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 whoa. Do not put me in your camp, sir. I'm of the no longer human camp where I have no narcissism and I think of myself as scum. Sir, do not put me in the same bucket as you. Do not. I'm insulted. Now I'm very insulted. Although you may have inadvertently, like, motivated me to be less depressed. I'm just like, oh, no way, man. I don't want to be seen with this guy.
If we lose that illusion, we crumble into depression, or we crack and go mad. So,
what do you mean we? Don't lump me in with you!
So perhaps I'm crazy, but only because I see things too clearly?
Does that make me crazy?
No. Panacea's voice was quiet. You're not going to kill me if I argue, are you? I'm liable to kill you if you don't.
He's gonna... Dude, he's just the kind of person who's liable to kill, like at the drop of a hat.
It's not that you see too clearly. I think your view is warped. Over the course of millions of generations...
Yeah, I mean, that's clinical... Clinical depression will do that, you know? It will.
Over the course of millions of generations that led to your birth, How many of your ancestors were successful because they were cruel to others, because they lied, cheated, stole from their kin, betrayed their brothers and sisters, warred with their neighbors, killed?
Oh, I'll tell you this. We got that one scumbag uncle that no one talks to anymore because he did this sort of thing. Well, nothing like crime worthy, but like we got a scumbag uncle and we don't talk to him anymore. He's not part of the community.
Mm-hmm.
He's out.
We know about Marquis, so that's one. How many were successful because they cooperated? I wondered.
Yeah, that's a good question, Taylor. Yeah, you go, girl, you go. That's right. That's the right question.
Jack probably had a rebuttal to my question, but I wasn't about to speak up to hear it, and Panacea didn't ask.
I'm just picturing Taylor popping out, doing what I do best as Panda, and just being like, what about you, Jack? What if they cooperated? What about that bitch? Like, I'm just picturing her popping out. I'm just picturing her popping out from the sliding door. Like, what about that bitch? Wait, this is America. The doors don't slide open. Like, I've been watching too much anime.
Mm-hmm.
We had a few sliding doors at, like, my school, too. Anyway. Oh my god. Seriously, that would make a hilarious, like, animatic. Just, you have, like, Jack Slash and, like, you have Jack Slash just kind of reveling in this, censored gore, and you hear CeeLo's dream, does that make me crazy?
Uh-huh.
Probably. And you see, like, just the smile at the end of the animatic.
Uh-huh.
Somebody make it happen. I don't know how to digital stuff. It just strikes me as being really funny.
I was tensed, ready to move and shoot the second an opportunity arose. Anything would suffice. Anything would do. I visualized it, the steps I'd take to open fire, and I realized that the shards of glass in the ground between me and the door could provide them with a half-second of warning. Slowly, carefully, I began brushing the shards aside, keeping my ears peeled for some clue about a key distraction. Survival of the fittest. It sounds so tidy, but it's really hundreds of thousands of years of brutish, messy, violent incidents. Billions of events that you'd want to avert your eyes from if you were to see them in person. And that's a large part of what's shaped us into what we are. But we wear masks.
I swear to God, there's a name for this kind of theory of evolution, you know? That he's espousing. I think this is like a very specific theory, and Taylor is presenting the counter theory, which is like, well, you know, humans are social animals, to quote someone we know in real life, and despite my pessimism, I do think that Jack's argument is kind of incorrect, because to have social animals like humans, like animals that have specifically evolved as social creatures, you're going to need more people to cooperate than to betray. What's that, the game theory thing?
Yeah,
right.
Like the betray or trust.
Right. It's actually ultimately in your favor to trust. You know? So I'm like, Jack, I get it. Like, I'm depressed too. Oh God, I put myself in the same fucking bucket. But at the same time, I'm just kind of like, no. I mean, my view is just, we evolved to cooperate with each other. We're just absolute doofuses about it, and we don't know how to do it properly because we are scum, but, you know, like, that's a different point. So, no, I think Taylor's actually got it. We got this far because we cooperated.
But we wear masks. We pretend to be good. We extend a helping hand to others for reasons that are ultimately self-serving. And all the while, we're just crude, pleasure-seeking, conniving, selfish apes.
I mean, we are, sure. Go on.
We're all monsters, deep down inside.
What do you mean deep down inside? Have you looked in the mirror lately, sir?
Again, one of those pauses that suggested something was going on that was visual and out of sight, rather than something I could overhear. Jack offered a dry chuckle. Did that hit home? I'm not that kind of person. Not a monster. I'd kill myself before I became like that.
Me too! Woo!
But you see how you could be like us. It wouldn't even be very hard. Just let go of those rules of yours. You'd get everything you ever wanted.
Wow, this is always how the villain talks. Take my hand, Tomoko. You will get everything you ever wanted. Are you laughing because I sounded like him for a sec?
Yeah, you sounded like Pro Googie.
It's very, this whole thing is just very, what's the matter, Tomoko? Take the shot. Like, oh man. It's just kind of funny. It's like, villains, did y'all go to like the negative version of Arcadia High where you learn how to talk? Like, is there like a speech class for villains? Like, I went to speech because I had a lisp, right? So I couldn't say my own name without lisping. Do villains go to a class where it's like, oh no, you sound too normal, like deeper, more sinister. Repeat after me. Like, I'm just envisioning like a comic, like a comedy sort of series where it's just like, oh, welcome to, like, hello, welcome to Villain School 101. I'm your teacher, Strokes Goatee. Like,
today we practice villainous laughs.
And let's see what we're working with. Gary, you first. That simply won't do. Repeat after me from the belly. Feel the evil in your soul. Like, I'm just like, why do y'all talk like this? Was there a what do you call those, like, online classes? What do you call them? Not a Zoom course, but like, what are those courses that you guys are hosting on LinkedIn?
Just learning courses?
Well, you know what I mean. Is there like a community college for fucking villains so you can learn how to laugh, right? Like, oh man. Oh shoot, those few days of not writing actually did me some good. This would be a really good comedy series. Villain School 101. Sounds really funny. Okay, go on.
You'd get everything you ever wanted. Not family. Yes, family, Bonesaw cut in. You guys kill each other. That's not family. You're derailing.
Really? What kind of family are you working with? What kind of family are you working with, ma'am? That sounds nice. I'm kidding. It didn't happen to my family.
You're derailing our conversation, Bonesaw, Jack chided the girl. Amelia, when I say you could have everything you ever wanted, I'm telling you that you could live free of guilt, of shame. You could have your sister by your side. No more doubts plaguing you. No more feeling down.
I'm just thinking back, Bonesaw actually, it's a good thing she was born when she was, because Bonesaw has the ability to make you like 长寿不老. Can you imagine if Qin Shi Huang got like a hold of that?
The Chinese emperor?
Yeah, like the whole like obsession with immortal youth.
Yeah.
Immortality and youth. Like Western like immortality is like oftentimes I see Western immortality is just like, oh my god, I've lived to be 200 years old, make it stop. But like in China, it's just like, oh, we're going to pursue immortality because this thing makes you young too. Like, well, man.
If Bonesaw existed at that point, I think you still don't accept any offers from her.
No, I wouldn't, but Qin Shi Huang would take that.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, oh, thank goodness she existed at this point. I mean, haha, oh, thank goodness this mass murder only exists in like 2012, but better like 2012 than like back then. But also, wait, 2012, right? This is 2012 in the.
Yes.
Is this some Mayan calendar reference shit?
Maybe.
The world ends in 2012. That was the worst movie.
2 years though.
Oh, for them too. Oh, it's 2 years. Okay, never mind. Because I'm just like, that was the worst fucking movie I've ever seen. Go on.
Haven't you lain in bed at night, wondering, praying for a world where you could have something like that?
Who knows what whispers you've made to the dark watches of the night? Quote Lord of the Rings or something. Don't come after me, nerds. I know I didn't look it up.
I'm telling you that you can have those things. And I promise you that the transition from being who you are now to being who you could be would be much quicker than you suspect.
All I want from you is a token, maybe a trifle. What I want from you is your voice. I mean, your agency. Wrong movie. You see what I'm doing?
Uh-huh.
No. Oh my god.
The defiance was half-hearted. Amelia, you could let yourself cut loose and love life for the first time since you were young.
Ooh.
And just like that, her resistance crumbled. I've never felt like that. Never felt carefree.
Woo! Me too, girl. High five!
Not since I could remember.
Low five, low five.
Not even when I was a kid.
Oh my god, me too. This is bad.
From your earliest memory, what was that?
Panda finds Bonesaw, Panacea, and at points in time Taylor to be relatable. Oh, this is bad. This is a certain kind of trifecta.
Jesus.
This is terrible.
They're all in the same room.
Are you sure you want to stay married to me?
Yeah, of course.
This is terrible. This is the worst. Same room? What?
Yeah, all three of them are in the same room.
Yeah, I know. This is like the three sides of my brain playing like table tennis with each other, playing like three-way table tennis. Go on, Panda. Take the shot. Tell them you're not coming to work this morning. You know, like...
Uh-huh. I see. From your earliest memory, what was that? In Marquis's home? No. Being taken home by the heroes and heroines that would become your false family? Ah, I saw that change in expression. That would be your earliest memory, and you found yourself struggling to adapt to your new home.
Who else has complex PTSD and is a healthcare worker? Hey, high five!
To school and life without your supervillain daddy. By the time you did figure those things out, you had other worries. I imagine your family was distant. So you struggled to please them, to be a good girl. Not that it ever mattered. There was only disappointment. You sound like Tattletale. That's not a compliment.
Oh, this is juicy.
My ability to read people is learned, not given, I assure you.
This is juicier than the assholes of Brockton Bay.
Most of the conclusions I've come to have been from the cues you've given me. Body language, tone,
Cues.
things you've said.
The way you said that was funny.
And I know these sorts of things and what to look for because I've met others like you. That's what I'm offering you. A chance to be with similar people for the first time in your life.
I think I've met others like you. I'm just thinking back, like, have I had any patients who reminded me of Jack Slash? I'm kidding.
A chance to be yourself, to have everything you want, and to be with me. I suspect you've never been around someone who actually paid attention to you.
Oh man. He's like an evil shrink.
Right?
He's pretty much like an evil shrink. Ah, yes, I know depression. Therefore, I know things. Like, he's like an evil shrink. I love it. He's an evil shrink. Last time we had that was like, spoiler for Persona 5, Water Key.
Right.
Evil shrink. Like, oh man, but he was a nice guy.
Yeah.
And you suffered because you were like, but he's right. And I'm like...
Jack is for sure not nice guy.
Well, no, Maruki didn't bash anyone's face in. Well, I mean, he... Oh, no, wait, at the end of the game... Sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He did bash your face in at the end of the game, but...
Yeah.
And that's the good ending. Anyway.
I suspect you've never been around someone who actually paid attention to you. Tattletale did. And Skitter. I startled at that.
Oh, girl, you're being recognized. Oh, see, this is how I feel. Anytime somebody acknowledges me too, I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? This is not how this works.
I meant on a long-term basis, but let's talk about that. I imagine they were telling you, no, you aren't. You can be good. Yeah. But you didn't believe them, did you, Amelia?
You really want to listen to this guy?
You've spent years telling yourself the opposite. You're a bad person. You're destined to be bad.
But that's as outlined in the happiness trap by so-and-so, that one shrink. That is merely a story that you're telling yourself. See, I'm working on myself.
By circumstance and blood. And even though you didn't believe them, you'll believe me when I tell you no. You aren't a good person, but that's okay.
Dude, he's like the bad angel on your shoulder.
It's not. You say that, but you believe me when I say it. There was another pause where Panacea didn't venture a response.
Girl, fight back! Fight back! He's just a loser wearing thigh-high Crocs! Fight back! I know he's not wearing them, but
He is now.
It's just, look, that's the only image I've seen of him. So, you know, come on. Are you gonna take that from Discount Johnny Depp? Are you gonna take that? What are you writing?
I'm just taking the notes.
Discount Johnny Depp that's in the notes, yes. It's in there somewhere.
Like
I've done it a few times.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Cool. Carry on.
Isn't it unfair? Through no fault of your own, the blood in your veins is the blood of a criminal, and that's affected how your family looks at you. You've been saddled with feelings that aren't your fault, and doomed to a life without color, enjoyment, or pleasure.
Jesus, he does sound like my therapist.
Don't you deserve to follow your passions? A decade and a half of doing what others want you to do, doing what society wants you to do.
Jack, you're making this assumption that her passions are very similar to Bonesaw's.
Haven't you earned the right to do what you really desire? Just this once? That's
I
not,
have always wanted to play electric guitar.
that's not really that convincing, Panacea spoke, but she didn't sound assertive. I know. So I'll offer you a deal. If you indulge yourself, we'll surrender.
What does that mean?
What?
Indulge yourself.
I won't even make you do it now. Just look me in the eye and honestly tell me you'll do it. Drop all of the rules you've set for yourself. I don't care what you do after. You can wipe your sister's memories. You can kill yourself.
Okay, without the wipe your sister's memory, like you just take that last chunk of conversation and you could just apply that to anything. Like, indulge yourself. Eat the chocolate cake. You know, like,
right?
It's just, I don't know. It's kind of a funny conversation when I think about it. It's like, it's just very like, it's very shrink talk. I mean, I do wonder how this got written because, like, again, this kind of reminds me of some of the stuff that my shrink says to me, where my shrink is just like, yeah, let me take all this time to acknowledge all the pain you've been through. And I'm like, can we please not do that? I spent like 12, how old am I? I spent 30 years suppressing that shit. Like, do we really got to bring it up? But, you know, it's just like, oh, yes, indulge yourself. Like, he's assuming he knows what she wants.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, I don't know. Me, the eternal pessimist, I'm just kind of like, well, Panacea, I feel like what you actually want is to help people. It's why you burned yourself out at the hospital. I feel like it's hard to make somebody want to do things that they don't want to in that way, right? Like, it's very hard for like people to violate their core values. So that's basically what he's asking her to do, right? Like,
in a way,
yeah, right? Because he's like, oh, you've got all these rules, and I'm like, listen, I got rules for my own life. We all do. We all have like an internal set of rules that we kind of try to live by, you know, like don't steal, don't like plagiarize, blah, 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 right? We all have these kinds of little rules. And it's just like, oh, go on, indulge yourself. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I've had moments where I've done things that like, I was just like, yeah, let's be lazy. And then like the result ended up being something I was completely unhappy with. And I felt worse for indulging myself. You know, it's like when you eat poutine, right? Yeah, I said it, poutine. It's like when like you think, I think it's John Oliver who said like, you know, it's like you think poutine is a good idea. You're like, you hear that Jack Slash like croc wearing devil on your shoulder going, go on, Tomoko. Eat that poutine, eat those fries. And then you eat those fries. And then later, like, you're just kind of like, oh, I regret it. I'm never doing that again. You know, and I haven't had poutine since. I tried it once and it was just kind of like,
too much.
No.
Always too much, right?
Yeah, so I've never had it again, right? So I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, you don't have to, like... Yes, that is in fact what I look like now, Grimcat. I am an old woman now.
It's been 84 years.
It has been a long COVID, man.
Really has, yeah.
But yeah, I'm like, Jack's making a lot of assumptions here. He's assuming that, like, you know, that she does want to, she's assuming that, like, she's gonna want to eat that poutine, and she's considering it, but I'm just kind of like, girl, you know, you made those rules for yourself because you know, you've seen other people eat poutine and get violently ill, so you don't want that. Are you sure about this? So it's like, really? It's like, and also this is very sinister. This whole like, I'm not going to make you do it. You do it yourself. And it's good for you. Listen to my voice. Listen to my punchable voice. You know, like, I'm sorry, I'm having too much fun with this. Now I know why you talk in this.
It's fun. It's actually very fun.
It's so punchable. You know, if a voice was like, I don't know, like the smuggest person in the world, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of injects you with a little bit of confidence, right?
No, I'm just being a troll.
Oh, okay.
But I'm just saying, like, you know, I can see why, like, I'm just saying, if they had, like, you know those punching machines at, like, carnival games? See, the voice is always just like, come on, punch me, you can do it. But if you had, like, go on, Tomoko, take the shot, and then, like, suddenly people will be punching a lot harder. I'm just saying.
I don't care what you do after. You can wipe your sister's memory. You can kill yourself. You can run away or come with us.
What the fuck is he telling her to do?
And your side wins. Aren't we winning anyways? Up for debate?
He deflected. The answer is yes.
I'm really quite thrilled with the current situation. Very enjoyable, and we've certainly made an impact.
Hey.
This deal is a trap.
I'd say the PR team made more of an impact than you did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the bombs.
This deal is a trap.
We're the good guys, they said, as they firebombed the city.
You'll make me do it, and then you'll kill me. I could, but I won't. Do you really have anything to lose by trying? If I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you regardless of what you say or do. 3.5 words. I'll do it, and we leave the city. I almost stood right then, to open fire before she made a decision.
Oh, damn,
One
Taylor,
way
you
or
got
another.
trust issues.
I had to convince myself to wait, that no matter
girl.
what they were saying, they wouldn't leave right this instant. Then, I heard the sound of glass crunching in time with someone's footsteps. With the length of time I'd waited for an opportunity, I was going to take what I could get. My heart pounded, my hands shook even as I gripped the gun as hard as I could. But I let out a slow breath as I drew myself smoothly to a standing position and stepped into the doorway, pointing the gun through the window frame in the door. They hadn't heard me move. It left me a second to take in the scene and make sure I was shooting the right people. They were in a music room that had been arranged with seats on a series of ascending platforms, backed by windows that had exploded inward, scattering the areas with glass shards. At the bottom floor, there was a podium waiting for the teacher. Jack was walking up the steps to approach a girl. I knew he was Jack because he was the only male present. He was wreathed in thin white smoke, wore a light gray t-shirt marked with bloodstains and black jeans tucked into cowboy boots. Sorry, they're... Okay, should I change that?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
I like how I just made like one noise and you knew.
A thick leather belt had a variety of knives, including a butcher's cleaver, a stiletto, and a serrated blade.
Stiletto?
Yeah. It's a kind of knife,
Oh.
right?
Does it look like the heels?
Probably.
Like, you know, like this tiny little point?
Yes.
Like an ice pick? So he's... Aww.
His teammate, Bonesaw, was standing in the corner of the room just to my right. I could see the edge of a dress.
You see, with the way that Jack Slash was talking, like, I know it's asking for a lot because I don't even know if I could do it, but like you could have read everything with a southern accent, like a thick southern accent, like
Yeah.
like I'm a fake cowboy. But that suddenly makes it a lot less sinister for some reason. I apologize to the southerners, but it's just kind of like, oh, you know, that easygoing talk. I don't know. It's only scary if there's a Confederate flag on the wall.
Yeah, I think there was someone who imagined Jack with a southern accent.
Right, like I said, the southern accent's like one of those like homey kind of accents where like it's just not very threatening when you hear it. Like, like I said, the southern accent only sounds scary if the person is standing in front of like a Confederate flag, you know? Then it's scary. But, you know, other than that, it's just, you know, people are just going to be like, people talk so nicely that you don't realize that they're insulting you when they say, oh, bless your heart, you know, like bless your little heart, right? And it's just that's actually not a good thing you want to hear apparently, but yeah. Just like that's really funny. Jack having this like southern accent, just like talking like Sandy Cheeks from SpongeBob SquarePants. Suddenly he's a lot less threatening.
Oh, Sandy.
And yet just a little fruitier. Okay, go on.
I could see the edge of a dress, an apron with tools and vials in the pocket, long blonde hair curled into ringlets, and
Ew!
and that same shroud of smoke around her, moving out to fill the room. The rest of her was...
Wow, so she's really doing the psycho Goldilocks thing here.
Right? Little blonde girl.
Little blonde, like she's sporting the full Shirley Temple.
I don't remember how long her hair was.
Shirley Temples are, you know what Shirley Temple looks like.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, oh god, ew. Is she like a psycho Shirley Temple? Like,
right?
Gross. That's just the wow. You know what? I don't care if she's 12. You know what? She looks very punchable too.
The rest of her was obscured by the wall to my right and the shelves that stood behind the podium.
Actually, no, I do care that she's 12. It's cute when you're 4 or 5 and you're doing the Shirley Temple thing. When you're 12, nuh-uh.
Not really.
Nuh-uh, sis. Nuh-uh.
It put her in an awkward spot for me to shoot. If I'd known she was there, I would have crawled over to the door at that end, gunned her down at point blank. Panacea stood at the far end of the room, at the highest point. She had brown hair that was blowing slightly, with the breeze that flowed in through the glassless windows behind her, topped with a flat top cap.
Oh, did she lose some of her hair? I forgot.
I don't think she lost hair.
Sorry, for some reason I was thinking like there's been a lot of violence. It just kind of I thought like maybe like somebody tore some of the hair off her head or something.
Freckles
Burned
covered
it.
her face, and she was dressed in a tank top and cargo pants. More than anything else.
Cargo pants? Wow, you are a fucking nerd. I say that as someone who wore cargo pants not in 2012. Good lord.
Nerd or lesbian?
Didn't you wear cargo pants?
I did wear cargo pants.
Yeah, I did too. So I'm gonna say nerd.
More than anything else, she wore a look of fear on her face that marked her as the victim, not the threat. And process of elimination meant the thing beside her was her
The thing!
I would have called it a coffin, but it was clearly made of something living.
Ew! The living coffin. Isn't that like a My Little Pony brony guy?
Oh dear.
Yeah, living coffin wasn't. I think he made like a bunch of. Andy showed us like he made a bunch of like songs and stuff and remixes, and actually they were pretty good. Anyway.
Huh. Josh says she already did break the rules though. This exact thing worked when Bonesaw did it.
This exact thing worked when Bonesaw did what? Keep reading.
It was probably in reference to something from before.
We'll let them elaborate. Yeah. Keep reading. Keep reading.
It resembled a massive growth of flesh that had been shaped into a vague diamond shape, gnarled with horny callus and toenail-like growth that protected it and reinforced it at the edges.
What?
On the side closest to me, a girl's face was etched into an oversized growth of bone.
The face of Bo! I'm kidding.
It was unmoving.
Oh, ew.
Decorative, with locks of long wavy hair that wrapped around the sides of the diamond. The sister floated a foot over the floor.
What the fuck? Didn't you already break the rules, darling? You broke your own rules already then, right? Like...
Josh says about the offer that the remaining 9 will surrender and leave the city if she breaks her rules some more.
Okay, I can't see your laptop, so what's going on? What's the full thing?
I think it's just an explanation of the deal that Jack's offering her. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but what the hell?
And that, like, he already broke her rules, essentially.
So she turned the sister into some kind of Pokemon.
I guess so.
It sounds like a fucking Pokemon.
It was so startling to see that I nearly forgot what I was doing. I drew in a short breath, then let slow breath out as I aimed the gun at Jack and squeezed the trigger. I'd mentally planned to unload the gun on Jack and Bonesaw, but I'd forgotten about the recoil. At the same time Jack was struck down, my arm jerked up, and my mental instruction to fire nonetheless carried through. The second bullet hit the ceiling. I whipped the door open and turned to my right to fire on Bonesaw, but my arm was numb, and her reflexes were sharp. She was already...
Your arm's numb from the recoil? Damn, girl, you need to work out more.
She was already opening a door at the other end corner of the classroom before
I don't know if shooting Bonesaw... I don't know what shooting Bonesaw would do, to be completely honest with you. She's moved her vitals around. Her heart's probably beating in her elbow or some shit.
Mm-hmm. Before I could shoot, making her way into the hallway. I had a split second to decide if I should chase her or go after Jack. I glanced at Panacea, saw her staring. As if the eye contact snapped her out of a daze, she lunged towards Jack, one hand outstretched. She stopped dead in her tracks as he lashed out blindly with a knife. Reversing direction, she went for her sister instead. Jack hadn't been incapacitated. Aside from the impact of the gunshot, he didn't even seem wounded. He was on his feet in a flash.
Right. That's right. Bonesaw reinforced them all.
Mm-hmm. He was on his feet in a flash, spinning 180 degrees to face me, his knife in motion. I ducked back through the door, the knife delivering a glancing blow to my back. It failed to penetrate my costume.
Nice.
Oddly enough, moving into the hallway and putting my back to the wall made me feel like I'd committed to fighting Jack, even if I might have been in a better position to go after Bonesaw. "Wake," I heard Panacea speak. She said something else that I missed. I felt a jolt, but it wasn't physical. It shook me on an emotional level. My voice abandoned me, not that I wanted to speak. I felt as if I stood on the very edge of the Grand Canyon, and any movement, even one to step back onto solid ground, was guaranteed to send me falling to certain death.
Oh, whoa. That's the emotional manipulation stuff. That's like psych manipulation. Go on.
Yeah. Do you remember who has this power?
The Bonesaw, right? Or what? No. Are we talking about Cherish?
So Cherish is the one who is able to manipulate emotions, but this specific power
You think
is
it's Panacea?
Glory Girls.
Glory Girls.
Remember, Glory Girl
Oh.
has a power that either inspires awe or fear.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. The levitating construct of flesh slammed through the door and the doorframe that Bonesaw had used to make her exit. The mask of bone drew upward like an open lid to reveal a clear sphere containing vitreous fluid and a teenage girl with blonde hair. Her eyes were open, but she looked half asleep, her hair fanned out around her, floating in fluid that seemed thicker than water. Her arms were outstretched, but her hands and lower body were hidden by the meat that surrounded her. The edges of the shell that were unfolding around her were curved forward like the horns of a bull. If the sister had come after me, I wouldn't have been able to fight back. Like a deer in the headlights, I stood there, unable to think or compel my body to move. She rotated in midair slowly, as if getting her bearings. As ponderously as she had moved from one moment, she went tearing after Bonesaw in the next, slamming through walls as momentum carried her too far, and as she turned a corner too tight and sheared through the drywall, tile, and window frames. I could hear Bonesaw laughing with childlike glee as she fled. Not smart, either of you, Jack chastised us. See, with Victoria gone, you've left me here with a hostage. I stood with my back to the wall, gun in hand. 10 bullets in here, 4 spent, if I'd counted right. I'd always sort of rolled my eyes at how movies treated guns and counting bullets, but it was harder than I thought. The shock and disorientation that came with firing a gun tended to disrupt even basic arithmetic. I couldn't even remember how many times I'd fired during the fight in the parking lot. I've been turning every microbe that touches my skin into an airborne plague, Jack, Panacea spoke, her voice low. You should be dead now. And me? I called out, feeling a pang of alarm. I didn't know you were there. You should be dead too, sorry. A benefit of Little Bonesaw's smoke, Jack answered. If I recall correctly, it's something of a safeguard, in case she accidentally deploys a concoction she hasn't immunized herself or the rest of our team against. The fact that it works against bugs and small rodents is a side benefit, rather than the intent. Bonesaw's work has made us members of the Nine more or less immune to disease, anyways. And the gunshot? Subdermal mesh. There's more protection around the spine and organs, and you landed that shot pretty close to my spine. It hurts quite a bit. Skitter, I don't care if I die, Panacea called out. I'd rather live, if only to turn Victoria back to normal, but just don't worry about the hostage part. If I have to die so you can kill this fucker, I will.
Damn.
It isn't that simple. Killing a monster like Jack or Bonesaw? That was one thing. I could push myself to do it. Killing a bystander in the process? That was something else entirely. Jack seemed to be able to interpret my pause. I suspect, Amelia, that she is worried about the hostage. The monster that dwells in Skitter's heart is a very similar one to yours. It's a lonely thing, desperate for a place to belong.
Oh my god, shut him up. Someone shut him up.
And the only thing it wants to be brutish to is her. Don't pretend you know me, Jack, I called out. You already tried to fuck with my head. You guessed wrong. I had bad information. Cherish has her uses, but she was never going to be a long-term member of the group. The people who can are truly special. Bonesaw, Siberian, me. Perhaps Mannequin, but it's hard to say. He's not terribly social, but he's been with us for some time.
Who?
Mannequin.
Right.
I stayed silent. I could hear his voice changing in volume as he spoke. Was he moving? There were 2 doors leading into the classroom. Was he moving toward one, aiming to leap out and strike me? I glanced down the length of the hall. Bathroom, janitorial closet, another bathroom, storage room. It made sense that there wouldn't be other classrooms adjacent to a music room with minimal soundproofing. You two have your differences, of course. Amelia, you're burdened by guilt, as you're burdened by your rules and so much else. I'd like you to think again about how nice it would be to be free. No. Amelia's interruption was curt, almost defensive. Alas. Well, while I'm interpreting you two, I'd say Skitter is driven by guilt. What makes you feel so guilty, bug girl? He's trying to distract me. I scampered along the length of the hallway, keeping low enough that I wouldn't be visible from the window, while I moved to the point just beyond the effects of the bug-killing cloud. I could send bugs after Bonesaw and the sister, Victoria was it, but Bonesaw would still have that cloud of smoke around her. I doubted my ability to achieve anything on that front. There's always some guilt related to family. Tell me, what would your mother think to see you on an average day? Or can't you remember her with the miasma? I'd almost forgotten. Even if I couldn't remember her face, who she was, or even where she was, I could feel a pang of regret that gnawed in my gut. I grit my teeth to remind myself to keep from opening my mouth and grasp the cords that my bugs had threaded together. I looped them around Atlas' horn, and then I ran down the hallway, still keeping low. Just to check, I tried bringing bugs into the hallway. The smoke was still present, if thin. They still died, just a little slower than before. I returned them to their previous location. No use wasting them for nothing. Skitter, he called out in his sing-song voice. With the acoustics of the hallway, I couldn't pinpoint his location. Aren't you going to reply? Just as I was trying to locate him, he was attempting to do the same for me. I decided to give him what he wanted. You're pathetic, Jack. I'd intended to provoke him, and I'd succeeded. I'd also intended to pull the silk cord taut as he stepped into the hallway, tripping him. Instead of opening the door, he leaped through the open window in the upper half of the door, tucking his knees against his chest. He landed with a short roll, spotted me, and slashed. I brought my arms up around my face to protect it. The feeling of the silk cord's weight dropped to virtually nothing as the slash cut it. I'd been given tips on fighting, even if I couldn't remember by who or by whom. Catch them off guard. My arms around my face, nearly blind, I charged him. He caught me in the side with a kick, but I had enough forward momentum that I crashed into him anyways. We fell to the ground, and I reached for the smoking vial that hung around his neck. Jack already had the stiletto in one hand. He jabbed it towards my face, my eye.
It's just really hard not to picture him actually fighting Taylor with a shoe here. It's just funny. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
My brain is just like this.
I mean, that a stiletto is a shoe.
I know, I'm just trying to picture, I just can't not picture him trying to stab Taylor with a shoe. It just strikes me as being the most Jack Slash thing he could possibly do, honestly.
He jabbed it toward my face, my eye, and I jerked my head back out of the way, abandoning my attempt to get the vial. Using one elbow, he shoved me to one side, then flipped over, simultaneously reversing his grip on the knife in his other hand, and driving it down toward the side of my head. I rolled with the momentum he'd given me to escape, before it could pierce my ear or my temple. He was already following up, slashing both knives at me, one after the other. He knew how to fight, of course. He said he'd been at this for a while.
Old man.
Hated this. Hated fighting without knowing enough about my opponents. I tried to get my feet under me, but it was slow and awkward as I was unable to use my hands. I had to wrap my arms around my head to shield my face against the continued flurry of slashes. Jack had a knife in each hand now, and he wasn't giving me a half second between cuts of that. My forearms and hands didn't cover enough of my head. I could feel the cuts nicking my ears, flashing through my hair by my temple. A few slashes made their way through gaps between my arms and fingers. Blindly, I rushed for the classroom. Needed a second to breathe, to think before I was whittled down to a bleeding ruin. I could hear footsteps behind me. I felt a hand seize my shoulder. I whirled and knocked it away, felt another knife slash crossing the back of my head. I had blood in my eyes. My ears were a bloody ruin, and cuts burned like fire around my scalp and neck. A shout! Not Jack's. I heard it again, the same words, but I couldn't make them out. There was blood in my ears. I stumbled into the classroom, and Panacea was at my side in a moment. Fix me, I gasped. I couldn't tell where Jack was, and I was hurting enough that I couldn't think to strategize. He hadn't followed. Fast! She touched my forehead, and I could feel the cuts knitting together. But there was another injury that wasn't mending. The red miasma took away my ability to recognize people. I don't know anything about the people I'm fighting. Fix my brain. I can't. If you don't fix me, Jack could win, and billions could die. If you don't cure whatever it is that Bonesaw's done with this miasma, I and tens of thousands of others could die of a degenerative brain disease. You don't understand. I can't cure brain damage. My heart fell. The last time I did it, the last time I broke my rules, everything fell apart. You're asking me to do the exact same thing Jack was. To break my rules again. They're just rules. Where was Jack? They're the only thing holding me together. He's getting away, this stupid girl. You were willing to die if he took you hostage. I'm asking you to sacrifice yourself in a lesser way. Fall apart if you have to, but undo what Bonesaw started. This is worse than dying, she said, her voice quiet.
Drama queen. I'm kidding.
No, she kind of is a drama queen.
Like, girl, I mean, I know we're told this story from Taylor's perspective, but also just kind of like, Taylor's got a pretty good fucking point right now. Lesser of two evils. You survive to fight another day. One.
Ask yourself if it's worse than the slow degenerative death of thousands and the potential end of the world.
Oh man, you're trolley probleming her.
She stared at me. Even as she looked at me aghast, I felt something awaken in my mind, barriers crumbling. This is bad. Every second is time you're suffering more permanent damage. That's not a huge priority. I'm more worried about Jack and all the others who got hit harder by this stuff than I did. It's a parasite that's producing the improperly folded proteins. I can stop it.
Prions!
I can stop it, and I think I can make them create a counteragent that counteracts the proteins and promotes healing in the brain. Can't make them fix the lesions, but I can promote plasticity in the brain and new connections to old information.
And that's, that's kind of how it works. All right, cool. Someone did his research.
Mm-hmm. Her voice was so quiet I barely heard it. But I could remember the others. I remembered Tattletale and Brian, Rachel. I could remember Alec and Aisha, the dogs, our enemies, my dad. My mom's face popped into my mind's eye, and I could feel a relief as I let go of an anxiety that I hadn't been consciously aware of. The parasites will replace existing parasites over time, and they'll die if it gets cold now, or if you raise your blood alcohol content.
Oh, okay, so, nice. So that's how you fix this. You get drunk.
Get drunk.
I know you're a minor. It's like, come on, Taylor, how many times have I egged you on? Like, come on, I know you're a minor, but you're a bad guy. What's a little bit of rule breaking?
Get drunk after a week or two to clear them from your system, and don't drink tainted water. If everyone clears them from their system...
Oh, that's going to be a taller order.
If everyone clears them from their systems, the miasma's effects will be gone by the end of winter. They're probably what she seeded all over the area before using the catalyst. I'd believe it. And the damage? Can you reverse it? The minor damage, yeah. But I can't do anything for the people with more serious brain lesions unless I attend to them directly. There's other healers out there. I know they're not as good, but maybe they can do something to fix that. I nodded. Precious seconds passed. Let me know the second I can go, I said. Jack's going to attack or pull something. Trying to engineer a large-scale solution to help as many people as soon as possible. The parasites will leave your body through your sweat, spit, and urine, and enter the local water supply to override the others. And anyone you cure will cure others in a sort of reverse epidemic.
Ooh.
I have to make sure this is engineered right, or nobody's going to get cured. If I screw it up, it could be worse than what Bonesaw did. My leg bounced on the spot with anxiety and anticipation. Jack was up to something, and I was sitting there. I tried to distract myself with a change of subject. Where did you get the material for what you did for Glory Girl? That sarcophagus thing. You have to use living materials, so they weren't human. That's not that reassuring. I used pheromones to lure stray cats, dogs, rats to us. Then
She did a Taylor Bonesaw!
Then I knit them together. Victoria didn't have
And
enough...
she made a face! She made glorified! It's a flesh trash can! It's a trash can made out of... It's an organic trash bin! It's an organic trash can! She made a face out of a bone plate! Ah! Ah! Oh my god! What?
She's an artist, Bonesaw would approve.
Listen, listen. I draw the line here at animal harm. I draw the line here. This is too much for me, man. I'm gonna go puke. Oh my god. Ew.
The tower's here. Hi, tower.
Hi, tower.
Tower says, "Oh man, I'm late. I'm sorry."
Why is this so gross? You lured stray cats and dogs with bear. I mean, granted, stray cats is actually a very, very bad problem in cities, but at the same time, it's like, oh my god. Oh my god, a flesh sarcophagus, a bone plate. She made a face out of the bone plates. Of stray cats. Oh my god, this went from like, yeah, a solution that requires you to drink alcohol to survive to, oh my god, she made a flesh prison out of stray cats. Oh. Oh my god! Oh my god, pray you do not run into bitch after this, cause, you know, the dog thing.
Mm-hmm.
The dog thing.
Victoria...
I'm in bitch's camp here too, you know, cause, you know, stray cats, okay, yeah, we have a stray cat problem, so I guess it's horrifying and gross, but okay, not so bad. Stray dogs, I draw the line at dogs. I love stray dogs. Go on.
Victoria didn't have enough body fat to stay warm, and she was wearing out faster than I could get her nutrition. She's going to return to normal, though. Just a little more time. I have to ensure she's totally together inside the cocoon, then disconnect her from it. And make sure she reaches a physical equilibrium afterward.
Okay, you mad genius. What the ever-loving fuck?
Once I know she'll recover, she trailed off.
Can I point out now that you're getting really good at reading? Like, you've gone from, like, punchably smug to punchably insecure. You're getting some range on you, sir. Bravo.
Yeah. I'm glad I can range.
Yeah.
Stay within the punchable range, though.
I mean, you're voicing a lot of punchable characters. You got source material, but... Anyway, go on.
Amy, go. You're done. Go after Jack. I hesitated. There was a look in her eyes, dark. She wasn't meeting my gaze. I turned and ran. Atlas was waiting on the rooftop as I ascended the stairs. Too much time lost. My body was a counter-agent for Bonesaw's Prion generators, but I had to find Jack and Bonesaw. I could scout the area with my bugs, vaguely sense the areas they traveled by seeing what spots murdered my bugs on contact. But I still had to track their movements. Glory Girl was hovering over the school, searching for Bonesaw. The cocoon, as Amy had called it, was damaged, much as the school gate had been, but Glory Girl was still intact inside. The fact that she was looking made it very... That's it,
it's called a meat suit!
Ah, yes,
that's what it's called, the meat suit! There we go! I was like, there's a word for this, I don't remember. Hashtag glory hole? I mean, there's a hole in the meat suit and you can see her.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I had to. I'm so sorry. I'm not sorry.
The cocoon, as Amy had called it, was damaged, much as the school gate had been, but Glory Girl was still intact inside.
Me too.
The fact that she was looking made it very possible that we were facing the worst case scenario.
Dude, this... I know, like, oh, they're facing worst case scenario. Oh no, everything's so bad, but all I can think is hashtag meat suit, meat cute. I don't know why my brain does these things.
It's because it rhymes.
It's funny. I don't know. I have a twisted sense of humor. Keep reading. I just need to pop off to the restroom really quick. Really fast.
All right.
You can keep reading. I can hear you.
The bug-killing smoke extended outside of the school gate. It was hard to verify if they'd gone that way and corked the flow of the smoke, or if it was traces from before. My only resource and means of detecting it was my bugs, but testing it meant killing them by the dozens, if not hundreds. If they stayed on the grounds and I left, it could mean something ugly for Amy and Glory Girl. Conversely, if they'd left and I stayed, it could mean disaster for everyone else. I left, flying Atlas in an ever-expanding circle, reaching out with my bugs to scan the surroundings. With a mixture of relief and fear, I recognized that Bonesaw's extermination smoke was stronger a half-mile away. I'd been lucky enough to guess right. They'd split up. 2 trails extending down different streets. My bugs felt around to see where the death zone was, a few dropping dead each time, their numbers whittling down. It was like a game of Battleship, with constantly moving ships and limited ammunition. 3 trails. I stopped in midair. 3? I gave chase to the nearest one, abandoning Atlas to pursue the subject into an alley, through a hole in the wall and into a derelict building, past the pile of rubble. This wasn't right. It was too nimble, moving through spaces too small for even Bonesaw. And before I even returned to Atlas, there were a half-dozen trails in total that were branching out around us. In another few minutes, there was a dozen. Our group had used this method some time ago, using Gru's power to slip away from the bank robbery. But how were they doing it? It wasn't just the wind carrying the gas down misleading alleys. Were there living creatures carrying vials of the stuff? Mechanical spiders. They'd found their maker, and Bonesaw was using them to distribute the vapor and cut off my swarm sense. They'd escaped. End chapter.
Boo!
Boo.
Wow, disappointing. How many chapters left in this arc?
1 more, I believe. Yeah, I think it's just 1 left.
Boo.
Boo.
Really, all that excitement and then they escape anyway?
Well, at least Taylor is cured.
Yeah, I guess.
All right.
Hmm?
Big chapter. It's been a while since we did this.
Yeah. Yeah, I've solved like 3 or 4 puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Tower says Victoria is like a goddess to Amy. Maybe that's why she made her into a flesh sarcophagus.
Huh. I feel like there's a Greek god joke in here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not well versed enough in mythology anymore to be able to make that joke, but I feel like there's a horrible joke in here somewhere.
Mm. All right, 1 more chapter, and then we also have, I think, 2 interludes if we want to read those. But we're gonna stop here for the time being. Yeah.
Just mech suit made out of dead stray cats with a face. Like it opened like a trash can lid, and I know that it's just I can't think of a better way to word it, but it just I guess I wouldn't have said trash can lid. I would have said it just opened like a lid.
Uh-huh.
Because like I don't know, it just the word trash in there just it. Oh, by the way, it is garbage day. We got to put out our dumpsters. But I'm just kind of like, there's so many jokes. Like, wow, that's a dumpster fire of a mech suit. Like, wow, your waifu is literal trash. Like,
right?
Like, God, there's so many jokes. It's like, this is a joke that you've written yourself. Like, it's just really funny.
Mm.
Like, I can't, Jack's whole, like, ho-hum, I'm depressed, we see the world differently, and I'm just like, see, everything, I have to treat everything like it's a big joke. I mean, I think I fall into the same camp as, like, depressed comedians, where I'm actually funny, but that's because that's my coping mechanism, my survival. But it's just, man, trash can, your waifu is trash. The, like, dumpster fire joke, it just, wow. Just, wow. Hot garbage.
So, I know you were disappointed when the Amy Victoria subplot was cut off earlier in the arc. But here's the continuation of it.
I have more questions now. Like, I don't know what to say to you. I'm just like, I feel like I have more questions now.
Okay.
Like, what made you come up with this?
I think we definitely read the interlude for this arc, because it's going to answer, I guess, the final ending to their subplot.
All right.
But like I said, for the time being, we're signing off. It was good to see you all again. Thank you, Tower, for joining in. And
everything's recorded, so even if you're late, if you want to hear our punchable voices, then they're there.
My especially punchable voices.
Yep. Yeah, you did good. You're doing better and better at the reading stuff now.
Why,
Or
thank you.
like I know part of this was you wanted to work on your reading voice, but you have a really great reading voice.
Mm,
Like I mean that.
thank you.
So that's nice.
That makes me very happy. All right. Hopefully we'll do this soonish, or whenever we feel like it, as
Listen,
usual.
my writing's like winding down for a little bit, so maybe later this week.
Maybe later this week. All right. Look forward to that. Thanks for tuning in.